What is up, everyone? So, let's say you want to find an endgame Druid build, but everything you're finding online is shapeshifting. Maybe you don't want to shapeshift. Maybe you just want to be a crazy Earthbender. Well, I'm here to tell you, me too. And here is how we do it. Now, before we get started, I'm doing all kinds of off-meta builds that can still reliably clear all of Diablo 4's content. I mean, that is, if you want to run something different from everyone else at the Legion event. So leave me a comment to let me know what kind of build you'd like to see. If you throw a like on this video, that would help me out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to get more new builds sent your way directly. All right, let's get into it. So starting off with our gear. There's a few variations of this, but I'm going to show you the one I have on right now. And the one I have on right now was to push high tier nightmare dungeons. Rest assured, you can absolutely clear tier 100 with this setup. So on the helmet, we are taking ballistic aspect. What this does is when you have fortify, your earth skills gain +2 ranks. I've seen some confusion about how this works. The debate is, do you have to be fully fortified or can you have any fortify? The answer is absolutely, you can have any amount of fortify and you'll get +2 ranks to your earth skills. This is a huge deal for us as we take every earth skill in the tree, and it's also a great buff to our landslide. Now, when you're looking at the affixes on my gear, they are not optimized. I haven't even re-rolled on this helmet. I'll keep the total armor, I'd keep the resist, and I'd keep the max life, but I would re-roll basic skill attack speed. However, I don't feel like farming Forgotten Souls from Helltides right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. So, keep in mind, none of this is optimized, but the aspects are what we want. Now on the chest piece, I have Juggernauts. Juggernauts is obviously a great boost to your armor if you don't have armor cap. You could also do this with Disobedience, and in our speed farming variant, we want to use Mending Stone instead. That would be for overworld content like Helltides and things like that. We got total armor, we got another resist, we got max life, and DR from distant. Enemies up close in this build are just going to be strangled and destroyed by your poison creeper, so it doesn't particularly matter as much as DR from distant. When you get into those Nightmare Dungeon 90 plus, those goofy little archers with the weakest arrow ever seem to one-shot you, so that's what we want to hedge against. On our gloves, we have the Aftershock. This aspect is crucial for this build. It makes Landslide's Earth Pillars each strike a second time and deal additional damage. The actual roll on the damage, while you'd like to get it maxed, not the biggest deal. What matters here is the utility of getting that double Landslide. It's a 100% buff to your damage because it's hitting twice. The most important thing on your gloves is ranks of Landslide. I'm happy with crit damage to earth skills. Willpower is never bad. I'd really like to see lucky hit chance and attack speed on these gloves, though. These are just the ones I have on right now. Now for the pants, we have Tibalt's Will. Everyone's very familiar with it. It's a damage multiplier, some nice DR from close, and yeah, they're just best in slot for most content. However, if you don't have Tibalt's Will, you can use the aspect of Mending Stone here and just increase the duration of your Earthen Bulwark and hopefully have more unstoppable uptime. On our boots, we are using Metamorphosis. Now, Metamorphosis gives and Metamorphosis takes away, particularly when it is paired with Juggernauts. You wind up with something like a 25-second evade cooldown. So on these boots, I definitely want attacks reducing that cooldown. It comes back quicker than you'd think. But if you run this exact setup, managing the Earthen Bulwark and evade cooldowns becomes critical to make sure that you don't get CC'd and blown up. You really have to be aware of what you're using and when. On these boots, I have triple resist, I have willpower. I would much rather have movement speed in place of willpower, but I'll keep willpower for now. Like I said, I'm not farming souls at this moment to be able to go do rerolls, so I figured I could just talk about it instead. On our staff, we are using Retaliation. This is our best aspect because it's always up. And so, I mean, we're always fortified. So we want to take this and we want to put it on our two-hander. We also have to use a two-handed staff. The reason for this is a legendary node later in the Paragon board, where our damage to CC bonus results in a damage multiplier. That is the implicit stat on a staff, so we want to keep it. This is not a perfect staff. We like willpower, we like crit damage, but earth skills, core skill damage is good. But what we really need is another damage to CC roll to make this a great staff. It's 925, it has good damage, but until we have that, we do not have our damage tip top like we could. We have the Banished Lord's Talisman. Another very familiar unique. I don't think I need to explain it too much. Tons of overpower damage, frequent overpowers, because we're going to be able to effectively spam landslide endlessly when we even have to. Most of the time we don't have to because Poison Creeper does everything for us. However, it is good here. If you don't have this, what I'm going to recommend you do is go down to this ring, this Crash Stone aspect. We're going to move this aspect up to our amulet. You also notice on both rings, we're looking for damage to crowd control. We'll put Crash Stone on the amulet. And then, yeah, it's just our next best damage multiplier. And then on this other ring, we'll take something like Conceited or Edge Masters and use those for additional damage. But if you have Banished Lords, use it, put Crash Stone in the ring. And then our last ring is the Subterranean aspect. This is pure utility. Of course, we like the higher roll on the damage, but it's not a multiplier. It's just nice to have. This makes Landslide go in a circle around us. When we do Poison Creeper, that's what you saw in the clip. That's what causes entire rooms to simply evaporate. All right, and as we move over to look at our skill tree, go through this pretty quickly here. We have 1 point in Earth Spike with Wild Earth Spike. We will have to use it sometimes to get our spirit up. I'll show you in a minute. A lot of the time, we're just proccing our Earthen Might key passive and our spirit's refilling on its own. So we did take max spirit on some gear for that reason, but 1 point into Earth Spike up to Wild Earth Spike. We have 1 in Heart of the Wild, 3 out of 3 in Wild Impulses for as much damage as we can get, and 3 out of 3 in Abundance in case we do have to use that Earth Spike. We want it to be over as quickly as possible. Landslide, we max, and then we come up to Primal Landslide. Anyone who's not familiar with this, if you immobilize or stun an enemy, you gain a Terra Mote. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a Terra Mote, causing a guaranteed crit with a 40x multiplier. These are very big crits. Bosses always have a 10% chance to grant a Terra Mote since you can't immobilize or stun them. Now, the synergy here with Poison Creeper, which has been seen before in other Creeper Slide variants, is that Poison Creeper does immobilize enemies. So everyone that gets caught in our Creeper grants a Terra Mote, then they immediately discharge on the landslides that come from Subterranean, and we get these huge hits. There's a ton of great synergy to it. Taking 1 point in Earthen Bulwark. The reason we're not scaling this further is because it's going to give us a greater percentage of our base life as barrier. But by late game, your base life is nothing compared to your max life or compared to the amount of damage enemies are putting out in high tier nightmare dungeons. So, no, even if we put 5 out of 5, we're just not going to make Earthen Bulwark a tanky barrier in endgame. But we will take it for the unstoppable. This is to be used in an emergency, and it also does proc our Tybalts and give us a damage boost while we have it up. Like I said, if you wind up putting Conceited in the build, you can get a little more damage out of having Earthen Bulwark up. There's a few ways to do it. 3 out of 3 in Ancestral Fortitude, take the resistances, 3 out of 3 in Vigilance, 15% DR after we use a defensive skill, so even if our Bulwark just gets annihilated, we still have 15% DR to show for our use of it. 3 out of 3 in Nature's Reach. Specifically in boss fights, we kind of want to stay away. We want to get close enough to get Creeper on them, but this is more damage as we stand back. This also is helpful if you're cleaving with a regular Landslide and Nightmare Dungeon, so we take the points because we take the damage. And just 1 in Poison Creeper with no extensions. We don't need the extensions. Poison Creeper is a pure utility skill for us in this build. We're using it to cast Landslide and to apply poison so that we can get more out of Envenom, which we're about to come to here. Boulder. Now, Boulder's in here for 2 reasons. The first one is this is an Earthbender Druid. We're taking the Earth skills. The second one, though, is it's actually really good for what we do. This is a slept-on ability, not counting the Dolmen Stone builds where you make it spin around you like ball lightning at home. But this actually does a lot for us, and I want to really quickly show you why. We're taking the Earthen Might key passive. So we have a lucky hit chance when we damage an enemy with an Earth skill to 5% to restore all of our spirit and cause our attacks to be guaranteed crits for 5 seconds. It's increased by 10% if it's a crit, and 10% if they're immobilized, stunned, or knocked back. So if we crit a knocked back enemy, there's a 25% lucky hit chance to restore all of our spirit, guarantee his crits for 5 seconds. Boulder inherently knocks people back. That's 10%. And then we're going to have a 20% base crit with every hit. So every hit has a 25% lucky hit chance to give us Earthen Might. Now, Boulder itself has a very low lucky hit chance, only 5, but it hits fast, and if you throw it well, you're chucking a bowling ball into a lot of enemies. So you're actually getting a lot of chances to get your Earthen Might, and it's great for crowd control. You find yourself swarmed on all sides, you don't know what to do, chuck a bowling ball and watch half of them just roll backwards into a wall. It's pretty satisfying to do too, I'm not gonna lie, it's a fun ability. 3 out of 3 in crushing earth, damage, we're taking it, especially when they're immobilized. That's everyone. Stone Guard, we always have Fortify over 50, so we're always going to get that. And why will we have Fortify over 50 all the time? Because we are creating with Earth skills, constantly getting a huge percentage of Fortify off of it. It just stacks up really quickly. If you're familiar with Druid trees, this is a classic. You take 1 point in Neurotoxin, so everyone is poisoned by Poison Creeper, it's slowed, and then we get crits, 30x multiplier on our crits against them. 3 out of 3 ranks of Envenom on your amulet should be your top priority. I don't have that right now. I'm not re-rolling for that right now. So the amount of damage that you would gain from getting 6 out of 3 on Envenom is significant. There would be, the numbers you're seeing are going to be nothing compared to what they could be if you get that on your amulet. So look out for that and expect to see crits, overpowered crits over 40 or 50 million pretty much all day long. All 3 points of Petrify. It's great. Petrify gives its spirit back, it CCs, it gives us a damage multiplier, it's room control. For my money, just one of the best ultimates in the entire game. It's incredibly useful. 3 out of 3 in Defiance, more damage. 3 out of 3 in Natural Disaster, more damage. 3 out of 3 in Resonance, more damage. And then the Earthen Might key passive that we just talked about. Now, there is a debate to be had here. If you really want to maximize damage, you can go take Ursine Strength. There's some confusion around this because it's a bare form key passive. However, these sentences are separate paragraphs, right? The second one still applies even while you're in human form. While healthy, deal 30% increased damage and 30% increased overpower damage, both multiplicative. You can still get that buff even as a human. I tested it. The damage numbers do go way up. I saw overpower crits over 50 million. And again, that's without the Envenom on the amulet. So imagine 70, 80, 90 million overpowered crits. However, I chose Earthen Might because, first of all, the damage from Ursine Strength, kind of overkill. We don't necessarily need it. The second thing is, the weakness of doing that is when you get into a one-on-one fight with a boss. Yes, you put out more damage. However, you're going to have to use a lot more earth spikes to regenerate your spirit, and you're going to have a lot of hits that don't crit, all those problems that you might run into. And it's actually much faster to solo kill a boss with Earthen Might. And I'll show you really quickly how often Earthen Might procs. So where you're going to look is down at our spirit, right? And you're going to see it drain as I use it, and then it's going to shoot back to the top, which means we got Earthen Might. All of it back, guaranteed crits for 5 seconds. So let's just test this out really quick. Got it. Didn't get it that time. We're just going to throw a few earth spikes. Usually actually doesn't take this long, being completely honest with you. There it is. We got another one. With more attack speed, you can do this fast. But you see, these are all crits. And look, there's another one. How many damage numbers we're actually putting out? Like, there's 4 per landslide. They're each doing several hundred thousand. It's millions per landslide against bosses. You just absolutely melt them. And Earthen Might actually usually procs more often. But of course, as I'm trying to demonstrate it, that wouldn't be the case. Now, if we take a quick look at our spirit boons here, we are taking Gift of the Stag. We're doing this because Earthen Might's proccing a lot, and we're just getting more spirit back when it automatically fills it. It allows us to keep machine gunning our landslides. The classical solution here is to take Wariness. Most builds do. If you find yourself feeling squishy at all, this is a good swap to make, but if you're surviving, I say Gift of the Stag and let Earthen Might do its job. We're bonded with the Eagle, and we're taking 14x max life. This helps with overpowers. It helps with survivability. Just a generally good node, and of course, we're taking a 30x crit damage. You just want this all the time. We have Pack Leader. Now, Pack Leader has a lucky hit. Crit chances have up to a 20% chance to reset the cooldowns of our companion skills. Because of this node, we have almost constant Poison Creeper as we run through dungeons. If you think about it, every hit from Poison Creeper is going to be a crit. All of those landslides are crits because of the Terra modes. They're going to hit 20, 30 times sometimes in a big mob, and we're just going to keep resetting it. So we always want Pack Leader. It keeps this build running really smoothly. And then lastly, we're taking Calm Before the Storm. Nature Magic skills have a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of my ultimate skill by 2 seconds. Above Petrify, we want it up. We're going to take this. It's incredibly useful. There is an argument to try to get more overpowers, but this utility only goes so far. It's better to just try to keep Petrify up and take the damage multiplier, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole Paragon board, but I will show you the glyphs and legendary nodes that we're taking. So we're taking the exploit glyph in the first one. More damage to vulnerable. We create vulnerable. It's great. We use it all the time. Second board, human. More damage as a human and 10% DR as a human. We like that. Ancestral guidance. Spend 75 spirit. You get 30 X multiplier for 5 seconds. You saw how fast I was just spamming spirit and getting it back with Earthen Might. So, of course, this is always up. We come over to the right, we're taking Spirit. When you do a crit, that the enemy takes 2x more damage from you for 20 seconds, stacks up to 12 times. This happens instantly against bosses, so it's just a nice damage multiplier. We're also taking Heightened Malice. 3 or more poison enemies nearby, you're going to get a 45x increased damage. This happens all the time in dungeons. Everyone's poisoned. Outmatch, 16x physical damage to non-elites and bosses. We'll take it. Up here, we've got Earth and Sky. Nature Magic skills, 10x increase to CC they're vulnerable. You can tell why that's good. And the Earth and Devastation. This is what I was talking about with my staff. Your Earth skills deal 10x increased critical strike damage, increased by 20% of your damage versus crowd control bonus, up to 40%. So we're trying to get from 10 to 40, so we need to gain 30%. And we're only getting 20% of our bonus. So to get that 30%, we need 150% damage versus CC. I don't have that right now. If I had another damage versus CC roll on my staff, I'd be a lot closer, and possibly slightly better rolls on rings and things like that to really maximize it. But damage versus CC is our number one, a fixed priority on offensive gear. And Tectonic. This is a hugely valuable glyph for this build. So we're getting crit damage with Earth skills, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is 20% lucky hit chance. Our Earthen Might is a lucky hit. Our Pack Leader reset Poison Creeper is a lucky hit. We are looking for lucky hits all the time. That's also how we reset Petrify, right? So Tectonic is a great glyph here. And like I said, this entire board will be linked in the comment or in the description of the video so that you can easily come find it if you actually want to set this up. And that brings me back to my last point. This Paragon's still a work in progress, right? I'm tinkering with it. This is the first version that felt really good. The gear isn't optimized. I don't have the Envenom ranks. We're missing a lot of stuff that could make this build just better. So you can make this significantly better. You can take what you're already seeing and improve it because we are not optimized yet. I have so much confidence someone can do this and do it even better. And yeah, that's really it. We can be an Earthbender and we can destroy everybody. So thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you at the next one.